him because the sickness or the sin was so obvious that it made people turn their heads. I thought about this as I was looking at this, and I said, Lord, you are so good. Because for the Christian sense, this is what, see, we think that sin is missing the mark of God, doing this, doing that. We're going over that in our Basics of the Faith on Wednesday, what sin was. And these are some of the things that prompt me to preach these things. But now we look at sin and we don't see the ugliness of it. So here God records in this particular scripture a picture of the ugliness of what sin will do when your whole life is going well. You know, it's one of the things that I was speaking with my son-in-law with yesterday, and he was saying, you have constantly tried to tell young men to be careful of what sin will do to them. And then he says, and even more so now, you must look at yourself deeper and in a more fuller sense. And he was right. And that's what prompts me to preach. For the preaching student that may be watching, know this, that if the subject matter doesn't preach you, then you ain't preaching it. That's the way that works. Because I'm looking at the leprosy that dwells in my heart from time to time. So, he stood next to the king, yet he was affected more than any slave in the room. Think about it. He would come in and he'd be wrapped up as much as he could, and the slave was standing on one side of the king with a pail of water ready to wash the king's nose if he had a booger in it. And the slave got more showtime than Naaman on the other side of the king, standing there shamefully stricken. So when you see this picture or this perspective, you can see why God uses sin as a figurative picture of what sin can do in the life of human beings. Naaman had a drawback. He had a drawback. He was not the happy man that many thought him to be, because he was a leper. And when you were a leper, you may have money, but the money doesn't mean anything. See, when sin is in your life, you can have money, prestige, power, valor, honor, and all of that is gone. Oh, not from people that can claim that you're a sinner because of something that you've done or said, but from God. And every person that is a sinner, all of us in this room, we know when we have the disease of leprosy. None but a leper could truly know the meaning of leprosy. No one but Naaman could know the shame of how it felt. And it had to be a terrible thing. What did this drawback do? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It kept back his pride. Because since he was a commander of a great army and the leader, one of the leaders in a great nation, this leprosy humbled him. It humbled him to a degree. When he spoke to his other commanders in the field, they said, "Ah, he's sick, man. Look at him. He can barely, you know." Because sometimes when it would affect your mouth, it would eat away at your flesh. Now, in that culture, what they did, Allison, is that they could cover their faces with veils and everything, but then it would smell. And because they didn't have the medicines that we have today. So he's smelly and pussy and flies coming around it and he's shooing it, and you know, and his wife used to come in and want to stand next to him, and so she says, "Oh, honey, it's my time of life. I can't go in today." I mean, she'd say anything. She didn't want to be around it. It was a filthy mess. It reminded him of the world that he lived in from day to day. This leprosy neutralized the great prideful man. Did you know that who was it? It was Frank Sinatra's last words. Remember I told you what Frank Sinatra's last words were? He told his wife, "I'm losing." Oh, yeah. That was his last words before he died. "Honey, do you have anything to say?" "I'm losing." See, all great people with money and everything like that, the equalizer for life is death. It is death. I hope I never say I'm losing. Tyree, I want to say, "Bye, son. I love you, man. But I'm going to a far better place." Ha, 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 ha. I'm out. I wouldn't tell nobody I'm losing. You want to lose life to get to heaven, Ricardo. You want to lose it. What else? What else? This leprosy had interrupted his happiness. See, we got so many things that make us happy, especially this time of the year. Happy, 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 happy. What's today, the 20th?
Yes.
There's 5 more days, huh?
Yep.
Wow! 5 more days. Uh-huh. We'll see if we got leprosy sitting up in this room. This leprosy came to him not by chance, but by choice. Now, I put that there because it wasn't by chance. You know, it was by God gave it to him. See, all this stuff comes from God. We don't even want to face it. We don't even want to own up to that. What do you mean God gave it to him? Just what I said. God gave it to him. In other words, there was something to dampen his joy and mar his character. And there will always be something that will come up in our lives to show us that we are just sinners, saved by grace. There will always be something. I ain't perfect. I ain't trying to be your perfect pastor. I'm not at all. I enjoyed you the other night, Ellison. That was a lot of fun. I enjoy your candor, your transparency. That's the way I am. I can go around other Christians. Oh, you're rude, you're vile, you're not pious enough. When you look at Naaman, he looked at his leprosy and it kind of neutralized him. We'll get down to what happened a little bit later in this message. What did this drawback do? It blemished him. It blemished him. Now there was a visible mark on him. People didn't desire to look at him. See, before, everybody wanted to be around him. Tyree, you ever get money, man, and you have a lot of friends around you and everything, they're going to be around there eating up, drinking up, living up, everything. But the minute that money is gone, you will find them people fall off like rats from a sinking ship. Won't even want to be around you. See, and this is what happened to Naaman. This blemish was a visible mark. Hey, they didn't want to listen to him speak anymore. They didn't want to watch him operate. Sin does that to Christians. Because when sin comes in and captivates us and captures us, hey, it makes me not want to be around me. It's amazing. It's amazing. Mario this morning said, I don't want to go over there to that church. I don't want to be here. I said, man, that's your family, man. Your family coming to get you, boy. You better go on. I said, I may be your stepdaddy, but they're your real blood people. And your real blood people want you to go to the hip-hop church. And they are hippity-hopping it. And no more said, he said, give me a Bible that I can read. And I let him use my MacArthur Study Bible. I said, read that. And so while they're in there screaming and howling, Mario's going to be reading because I gave him this chapter. And I said, that's where we'll be. Read MacArthur's comments and then he said, isn't this the guy that you jammed a couple of weeks ago? I said, yes, brilliant mind. Brilliant mind. But I'll jam him in a minute. Because you know why? Because that was MacArthur's Achilles heel. That's MacArthur's sin. That's his leprosy. Each of us in this room got some form of leprosy, right? Some form of leprosy that is killing us.
That's right.
And that's why we need Christ. And so that's all I did. I'm just revealing, ooh, look at that sore on MacArthur. If you look at me close enough, you'll see a sore on me. Ooh, John, look at your sore. And then, Mark, Bob, I'll look at you and say, Bob, what's yours? See, then we all look at it from that perspective. Everybody's on their face before God. Yes, my friends, he was a leper. And that's what did it. It diminished him. He may appear to be happy, good, influential, yet he was a leper. All this stuff reeked on him and started tearing him down. There was not one slave in Syria that would trade skins with Naaman. You go to any slave that didn't have nothing to say. You want what Naaman has? You want to switch bodies?